What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Monday, the 27th day of January in the year 2025. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. Opposition Member of Parliament and Shadow Foreign Affairs Minister Amanda Walton-Desir hammered the government's handling of the migrant crisis facing Guyana, as more Venezuelan migrants continue to pour in across the borders. Making her contribution to the national budget debates, MP Walton-Desir said it is clear that there is no regulation of migration here in Guyana. She said the migration of Venezuelans here must not be viewed in isolation with the ongoing border controversy and Venezuela's ongoing claims of Guyana's territory. The opposition member of parliament, who is also an attorney, said the government appears to have lost control over the issue. She said the silence of the ministers of Foreign Affairs and Home Affairs on the migrant crisis during their budget debate contributions is testament that nothing is really being done and the government is not taking the matter seriously.
Mr. Speaker, it is obvious, painfully obvious from the fact that the members had nothing to offer us as to how they will manage migration into this country, that they have lost control of the migrant situation, and they have put our country, Mr. Speaker, resultingly in clear and present danger, jeopardizing our security and our sovereignty.
Walton-Desir said there must be a migration policy that will ensure not only orderly migration, but the safety and security of Guyanese. She said under the current situation, Guyana and Guyanese are at risk.
Mr. Speaker, to mitigate these risks and to protect the integrity of our nation, we must immediately, Mr. Speaker, immediately establish a mandatory migrant registration system. Mr. Speaker, this system will allow us to effectively monitor the movement of individuals entering our country, to track the duration of their stay, and to ensure that migration, particularly across our porous borders, particularly, Mr. Speaker, across our porous borders, that they are monitored, Mr. Speaker, and to ensure that the migration is done in a more orderly fashion.
The opposition MP also called out the government for being weak in its vetting process for migrants. She said the Guyana government must be mindful of the growing number of Venezuelan migrants coming over to Guyana with no policy in place.
Mr. Speaker, and we as a nation have to be mindful that this paradigm is not being used against us to our detriment by the deliberate injection of population into our Essequibo. Mr. Speaker, we must place emphasis on enhancing our military presence along the border, much like the coalition did with Operation Armadillo. Instead of having our military men and women in blue t-shirts cleaning the drains in the city.
Ms. Walton-Desir said the migration profile which the Foreign Affairs Minister has embarked on since 2021 is still not in operation. In her view, the government is not taking the issue seriously, particularly in view that criminal elements could be among those coming into Guyana unchecked. It is estimated that there are now more than 40,000 Venezuelan migrants spread across Guyana. More news coming up in just a moment.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. I can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Honey, what are you doing? Let's cash out. Let's cash out.
Shop $5,000 or more at any Massey stores for a chance to win a 2024 Nissan Qashqai Sense and $100,000 every 2 weeks with Massey Stores Christmas Jackpot Promotion.
Welcome to Dinner Under the Stars. Indulge in a culinary feast prepared by our talented chefs, featuring locally sourced ingredients and exquisite flavors. Every bite will take you on a culinary journey, from unforgettable starters to delectable desserts. Relax to the soothing sounds of the stylistics and blue magic as the stars twinkle above, creating the perfect ambience for a romantic evening or memorable gathering. Join us for Dinner Under the Stars. Reserve your table today and create memories that will last a lifetime.
Well, President Irfan Ali boasted on Sunday that his government has delivered so much to the people of Guyana since taking office that it has exceeded its own expectations. In a live social media broadcast, the president said an ambitious manifesto was set out by the People's Progressive Party in 2020. He explained that the government has fulfilled its promises while managing the country's economy.
So when you look at the promises we made in the manifesto, you will see that in every area we were able to exceed the expectations that we even set ourselves.
President Ali outlined several achievements of the government and added that significant investments were made in critical sectors to meet many of those achievements. In the health sector, he said, there is easier access to health services in many regions, as well as improved and new health facilities across the country. In the education sector, the president said the government has been investing heavily to ensure both teachers and students are satisfied and comfortable.
All of these things we are investing in to ensure that we are keeping up pace with what is happening globally. Public security. If you look at public security, this is another area that is key. Building a secure country, building secure communities. And you can see from this graph the investment that we have made and the remarkable benefits of the investment.
Mr. Ali also said his government will continue to make critical investments in 2025, and he pleaded with Guyanese to trust the government.
This year, we will also exceed the 50,000 house lots we committed ourselves to. Many people doubted that we would have been able to achieve this. But we have shown not only were we able to achieve it, but we surpassed it. Because you can trust us. We are a government that is trustworthy. We have demonstrated to you that you can trust us with our commitment.
Further, the president told viewers that the government's monetary and fiscal policies, as well as its transformative agenda, have touched every sector of the country's economy. The government has faced some criticism from the opposition and other groups over its big spending on infrastructure projects and its many withdrawals from the oil fund. Back to the budget debates, the current minister responsible for public security, Benn, and the former minister who overlooked the same portfolio under the last government, Ramjattan, clashed in the National Assembly this morning over the management of the security sector and investment in resources. In his contribution to the budget debates, opposition member of parliament and former public security minister Ramjattan noted an almost 16% increase in the budgetary allocations for the country's security sector. Mr. Ramjattan accused the government of misaligning of funds for the sector, adding that large spending on police infrastructure without actual institutional improvements remains a cause for concern.
It remains skewed to institutional, what you call infrastructure, rather than institutional improvement and the broader framework required for national safety and security. I want to say, take for example, we're going straight now to reconstruct what is called the Benn police station at $1.7 billion. I think I have it correct, and that accounts for a staggering 36% of the police infrastructure budget. This is I call a disproportionate allocation, which raises critical questions about whether the resources are being strategically utilized and more properly allocated.
According to Mr. Ramjattan, in addition to increasing infrastructure in the hinterland, human development is crucial in the process. He said there must be increased specialized training to deal with new forms of crime. Ramjattan proposed the development of a national security policy to address the problems in the country's security sector and to respond to modern security challenges.
Our limited coastal patrol capabilities can do damage to securing, as part of how we get a theme for this budget, securing the safety of people. There's too limited coastal patrol capabilities. Then also, we have an insufficient radar and aerial surveillance coverage. We are weak in the agency coordination, as very, very weak right now.
Mr. Ramjattan called for increased allocations for maritime security, pointing out that the current allocations are inadequate. In response, Home Affairs Minister Benn told the National Assembly that he believes that the spending on infrastructure in the security sector is justified. He said in order to properly respond to crime, there must be proper facilities in place. He rubbished claims that infrastructural spending is centered on the coastland, explaining that new police stations are being built in almost every region. He agreed, however, that capacity must be built to respond to the emerging types of crime in the country. Minister Benn noted that petty crimes are at an all-time low, while the police continue to take up the challenge of fighting transnational types of crime.
I hasten to say that the type of crime is not related to Guyana specifically in itself, but it comes about as a function of drug trade. It functions and results because of the arms trafficking, which relates to the matter. It has to do with the money laundering, which is related to the matter. It has to do with the trafficking in persons in respect of the matter.
Mr. Benn said there have been marked improvements not only in the police force, but also for the Guyana fire and prison services. Police stations in the country were left in a state of disrepair under the previous government, he said. He defended a $108.7 billion allocation to the security sector in this year's budget.
Yes, we're building new police stations. That yes, we have to build a new police station at Benn, a new modern building edifice, because I won't describe how I found some of the police barracks when we took over. But the criminal investigation department building was in the stage of collapse, amongst many others.
The Benn police station was destroyed by fire in 2021. Minister Benn said in 2024 the police force expanded its footprints across the country, with police stations being built and rebuilt in several communities. With concern expressed about the underperformance of the Guyana Police Force, Minister Benn assured the House that in addition to capital investments, steps are also being taken to improve the efficiency and integrity of the police force, and also its ability to investigate white-collar crimes, including corruption at various levels. Well, the Minister of Natural Resources, Vikram Bharat, has warned Guyanese against what he called fake promises from the opposition, as he clashed with the Partnership for National Unity AFC Member of Parliament Sherwin Holder about the management of the country's natural resources during today's budget debates. Opposition MP Sherwin Holder told the National Assembly that despite record high prices in recent years, the gold industry continues to underperform. He said despite promises by the PPP government that gold production would increase, the sector continues to struggle.
Mr. Speaker, the production level by the APNU AFC in 2019 was over 641,000 ounces. For 5 straight years under this PPP government, who, by the way, continues to have access to hundreds of billions of dollars from oil resources, hundreds of billions from revenue collection, and hundreds of billions of dollars from access to loans and grants, gold has constantly plummeted by more than 30%, down to 434,067 ounces.
Mr. Holder said the decline in production is due to lower declarations from small and medium-scale miners. And though there was a 0.5% increase in production last year, it was ultimately due to the operation of the lone large-scale company. He estimated that a significant drop in production has resulted in the loss of approximately $300 billion over the past 5 years. The opposition MP said under an APNU government, there will be mineral mapping to allow for the opening up of new lands for gold mining and other critical minerals.
The gas-to-energy plant teeters on the brink of disaster, with multiple delays piling up, and the government going as far as removing VAT on generators, a warning sign, Comrade Speaker, if we ever saw one, that the project may be far from completion. If this were not concerning enough, there are not one but 2 arbitration claims by the contractor against the government. The first is $50 million, and the second is likely to be just as hefty a sum. Who knows what the final total will be after all these lawsuits, and whether there are even more on the way, Comrade Speaker. Here again, the government has been silent, only acknowledging the first suit after an international newspaper broke the story.
Turning his attention to the oil and gas sector, Mr. Holder said while the Minister of Finance has accounted for monies received from Norway through the low-carbon development strategy, he refuses to account for the spending of hundreds of billions of dollars in oil money. To compound the situation, he said a government functionary nearly signed away more than $214 million in recoverable monies that the auditor flagged as questionable costs. He said the announcement by the government that tax concessions will be offered on backup generators is also an indication that the gas-to-energy project is likely to face more delays. Holder promised that an APNU administration will constitute an advisory team of professionals to advise the government on the upstream, midstream, and downstream planning, development, and administration of Guyana's oil and gas sector. But the Natural Resources Minister Vikram Bharat said Guyanese should be wary of those fake promises, which he said keep coming from the opposition. He said the opposition continues to pluck figures out of thin air and offer recommendations that are already being implemented by the government.
Again, in 2025, they will come with those fake promises. They will come with those fake promises of 400,000 threshold, of 80,000 pension. But these are the people who took away the cash grant from the students. These are the people who added VAT and light and water in this country. These are the people who added VAT on education and health services in this country. But yet you come to the National Assembly with all these lofty promises and recommendations that we will manage this sector and that we will ensure that the oil money reaches down to the people. And Mr. Speaker, we are doing that. The People's Progressive Party Civic is doing that.
The Natural Resources Minister said it was the APNU AFC coalition that mismanaged the bauxite industry, adding that the increase in gold production under the coalition was a direct result of policies and projects approved under the previous PPP civic government.
Mr. Speaker, he spoke a lot on gold, but what he didn't say, he said 5 years, but what he didn't say is that the highest production for gold was in 2016. But if you truly understand how the sector works, the work was done before 2016. The work was done by the People's Progressive Party Civic Administration, so that production could have been high in 2016, in 2017, and in 2018. It was the work of the People's Progressive Party in ensuring that the Aurora gold mine was established and started to produce. It was the work of the People's Progressive Party civic government to ensure that Troy Resources invested and they started to produce. And that is what he's boasting of.
Mr. Barrett also told the House that the APNU-AFC failed to make good on many of the promises in their 100-day plan. Minister Barrett said the Irfan Ali administration will continue to act in the best interests of the people of Guyana and will continue to put forward pro-people policies, projects, and programs while investing in infrastructure development.
Welcome to Dinner Under the Stars. Indulge in a culinary feast prepared by our talented chefs, featuring locally sourced ingredients and exquisite flavors. Every bite will take you on a culinary journey, from unforgettable starters to delectable desserts. Relax to the soothing sounds of the stylistics and blue magic as the stars twinkle above, creating the perfect ambience for a romantic evening or memorable gathering. Join us for Dinner Under the Stars. Reserve your table today and create memories that will last a lifetime.
Your own home is so much more than just 4 walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Ready to up your game? Ready to up your game? Win big with over 60 epic prizes. A brand new PS5, Nintendo Switch, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Apple smartwatch, and the hottest earbuds from Apple and Samsung. Plus, we are giving away thousands in phone credit and a whole year supply of Buster or Turbo Energy drink. Here's how. Buy any Buster or Turbo Energy drink, find the code starting with BB and enter online or on WhatsApp. Visit us on Facebook or Instagram at Turbo_Caribbean or Buster Guyana for all the details. Don't just play. Up your game with Buster and Turbo Energy.
The $260 million Phase 1 of the Viridian Hoop shore-based facility at Plantation Best West Bank Demerara was commissioned on Saturday. The facility is located on an artificial island and was developed by Vesci, a joint venture between NRG Holdings Inc., a 100% Guyanese-owned consortium of the Alfonso and Boyer families, and Jan de Nol, a globally renowned maritime infrastructure company. The facility will serve as a subsea umbilical, flow lines, and riser shore base for ExxonMobil Guyana Limited. Speaking during the commissioning over the weekend, President Irfan Ali said the partnership between the local and international companies must be commended. He said the country's trajectory requires both investments and persons who are willing to take risks.
There's a concept in business called early movers. And you have the early movers advantage. If we remain static in our development path and the way in which we structure our development, we will be late movers.
Company officials said during construction over $60 million was invested in the deepening of the Demerara River channel. The channel has been widened from approximately 50 meters to 100 meters, and it has also been extended from 18 kilometers to over 28 kilometers in length from the mouth of the river to provide access to larger vessels with deeper draught. The facility is also expected to play an important role in the country's maritime sector. It will also provide essential services related to the oil and gas subsea infrastructure, such as equipment storage, inspections, repairs, and fabrication. In the initial stage, some 250 permanent jobs are expected to be created at the facility, and the president said the facility will set the stage for more technical skills that are outside of Guyana to return.
We're celebrating the policies and the initiative that would have enabled us as a country to bring back more than 80% of the semi-technical and low-level technical jobs that were held outside of our country here in Guyana. More than 80% of those value creation jobs are now held in country because of policies, because of boldness in approach, because of a clear vision, and because of confidence of the private sector.
Meanwhile, the president of ExxonMobil Guyana, Alastair Rutledge, said the facility will play an important role in Guyana's development. He said Exxon and its partners stand to benefit from its construction.
And that is what this shore base is built to enable, is to bring that work scope here, is to enable the schooling that was talked about, to enable more fabrication of pipeline end terminations, of flow line end terminations, so that we can do more fabrication and build up capacity in the country, bringing those opportunities to people here.
The shore base is the first of its kind in Guyana and is the first stage of what is expected to be an expansive project at Brilliant Hoop to expand the country's maritime sector. Well, Minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water, Susan Rodriguez, on Friday lashed out at the opposition APNU-AFC over its criticism of government spending and continuous withdrawals from the oil fund. In defending this year's national budget, Minister Rodriguez said the former APNU-AFC government was good at not getting much done and now wants to dictate to the current government that it is doing too much. She said the government's investments in major infrastructure projects are people-centered and necessary. Minister Rodriguez supported the increased borrowing by the administration.
They didn't build any new housing areas, but they come here to criticize the housing program, sir, that is benefiting, that has already benefited 41,000 young people in this country, 18,000 young women, single women who have benefited from house lots in the last 4 years. 20,000 young people, over 20,000 young people between the ages of 21 and 35 now own their own homes or land.
The minister said an examination of the financial paper would reveal that the ratio of public debt to GDP has decreased over the past 4 years. Guyana's public debt has been growing steadily as the country reports increased growth and earnings.
But I want them to tell the people of this country who are listening which project you would like us to cut. Which housing scheme we should not build. Tell us which housing area we should not build. Should we give out 500 house lots as opposed to 50,000 house lots? Tell the people, Ms. Finance, tell the young people whether they will get their house lot under the APNU-AFC government. I assure you they will not get it, Mr. Speaker, because they had a chance and they failed miserably.
Rodriguez also said the opposition's criticism of major government projects point to narrow-mindedness, adding that the government is focused on building and developing Guyana while creating opportunities for the citizens. She said the government has been using its resources to build sustainable infrastructure while generating wealth, adding that instead of criticizing government projects, the opposition should lay out the projects that it would like to see cut.
We are building infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, to open opportunities for connectivity, to increase trade, for farm-to-market roads, to reduce travel time, to open new lands for housing, to build the water treatment plants. This is what people want, and this is how you use the resources to generate wealth and to build sustainable infrastructure that will last long into the future.
The opposition has described the budget as lopsided, with government investing over $200 billion in infrastructure while just allocating $9 billion for cost of living relief. But the minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water has defended the allocations. The Housing and Water Ministry has laid out a number of major projects to come on stream this year as part of its work plan. The lifeless body of a 64-year-old Bell West Bank Demerara woman was found bound and battered in her home. She has been identified as Parbudai Budram. A police report said the incident occurred sometime on Friday night. Investigators said the elderly woman appeared to have just returned home from a grocery shop in her village when she was attacked and murdered. Earlier in the day, she was at her husband's tailor shop in Georgetown, assisting him with some work. She was last seen alive by the owner of the grocery store, who drove her home and watched her enter the yard. The store owner was a family friend. According to the police, from all appearances, the elderly woman's attackers might have been waiting in the yard. It is suspected that she was attacked as she made her way inside the house. The police said there was no forced entry into the home, and Budram was found tied up with zip ties, and several injuries were seen to her face and her body. The family's jewelry and $4,000 in cash were discovered missing from the house. A post-mortem examination is to be carried out on the body. 2 persons have since been taken into custody to be questioned about the murder.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guy is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyana's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guy Oil has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. It can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
With your regional and international news tonight, I am Svetlana Marshall in the region. Reuters, in a report, said the U.S. and Colombia pulled back from the brink of a trade war on Sunday after the White House said that the South American nation had agreed to accept military aircraft carrying deported migrants. U.S. President Donald Trump had threatened tariffs and sanctions on Colombia to punish it for earlier refusing to accept military flights carrying deportees as part of his sweeping immigration crackdown. But in a statement late on Sunday, the White House said Colombia had agreed to accept the migrants after all, and Washington would not impose its threatened penalties. It said that the government of Colombia has agreed to all of President Trump's terms, including the unrestricted acceptance of all illegal aliens from Colombia returned from the United States, including on U.S. military aircraft without limitation or delay. Draft orders imposing sanctions and tariffs on Colombia would be held in reserve and not signed unless Colombia fails to honor the agreement, it added. The Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, of St. Kitts and Nevis has leveled serious charges against Crown Counsel Prosecutor Chantres Dorset in connection with the murder of 29-year-old Akeem Archibald. Archibald was fatally shot while riding his motorcycle near his home on July 20, 2024. The main murder suspect was initially identified by the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. Dorset now faces multiple grave charges, including accessory after the fact to murder, attempting to pervert the course of justice, misconduct in public office, and corruption. The prosecutor is specifically accused of using her official position to influence the surrender of the firearm used in Archibald's murder through an amnesty program. Authorities allege she assisted the suspect in fleeing the country to avoid judicial proceedings. And finally tonight, international news. U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to officially move to remove diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) initiatives from the Defense Department, one of several military-focused executive orders he's planning to sign, according to the BBC. A second order will task U.S. officials with formulating a policy on transgender troops. A third executive order will reinstate military personnel who were discharged for refusing COVID-19 vaccines. Removing DEI programs from within the federal government was one of Trump's central campaign promises, and one that he moved swiftly to implement upon taking office last week. DEI programs aim to promote participation in workplaces by people from a range of backgrounds. Their backers say they address historical underrepresentation and discrimination against certain groups, including racial minorities, but critics say such programs can themselves be discriminatory. The Trump administration claims that removing these initiatives from the U.S. military will help boost recruitment levels. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall, wishing you a pleasant evening.